I'm Bana, and as it was mentioned, oops, why is it? Sorry. Yeah. And as it was mentioned, I'm an alum from the class of NYUAD, class of 2020. I did major in biology, and I saw in one of the questions someone asked if we have a bio major. Yes, NYUAD does have it, and I took it. And I also did minor in visual arts. And currently, I'm a master's student at the University of Cambridge in the UK, and I'm studying genomic medicine. And I'm also a graduate researcher at Harvard Medical School. So not too long ago, I was in your position. I don't know why it keeps on flipping, but it's fine. Not too long ago, I was in your position. So I was still choosing which program to apply to. I was a bit overwhelmed. So a bit about my background before I got admitted to NYUAD. So I'm from Jordan, and I studied high school there my entire life. And I also did the IB program. So some of you might have done that as well. I was very active in terms of sports. I was on the volleyball team and on the track and field team. And in terms of extracurricular activities, I was my class representative for student council for 3 years. I was involved in MMUN, Modern United Nations, and conferences. I was also involved in volunteering activities. So in Jordan, we have this institution called Takiyat Ali, which is basically, it's a nonprofit that supports disadvantaged families by providing them with food. So I would usually volunteer with them just because it made me happy. And when it came to making the decision about applying to a university, I was kind of mixed. Like I was very not sure about what I wanted to do. I knew that as a person, I really loved biology. I loved medicine. I loved like these sciencey topics. But I'm also a very creative person. I really liked expressing myself through the arts. So it was hard for me to make that decision such early on at such a young age. Like you're 18, you're supposed to like make this huge decision that affects your life. So I was very unsure about that. But this is why I actually applied to NYUAD, because it has this liberal arts program. And the liberal arts program, as you might know, and as it has been mentioned before, basically allows you to be flexible in terms of what topics and what subjects you take. So for me, I was able to take science classes and I was able to take art classes as parts of the liberal arts program. And I also didn't have to make a decision about what major I wanted to major in until my second year of university, or like at the end of the first year, and up until the mid of the second year. So you do have that flexibility. So if you're unsure about what exactly you want to do, but you know your general interests, I would definitely recommend applying because this is what I did. And this is how I ended up with a major in biology and a minor in visual arts. Okay, in terms of the global education. So as it was mentioned earlier, NYUAD has, NYU, the global network of NYU has different global sites all over the world. And over here, I have a map of just the countries that I've been to, only for in the past as part of my NYUAD education. And these are just the countries that I've been to with NYUAD for class purposes. So I've been to other countries with NYUAD, but not for education purposes. So these are the list of countries that I want to share with you. So obviously I was in the UAE for the main campus. I was in the US for a semester in New York, a study away semester. I was in Italy for J-term. J-term is basically a 3-week course that we do in NYUAD in January. And this is why it's called J-term. So usually you get to travel a lot in this period. So I took an art class in Italy, in Florence, and it was beautiful for 3 weeks. And I really liked it. I was also in Sri Lanka for a film class trip. So this was only a weekend, very spontaneous. Our professor wanted to take us to Sri Lanka because there was a really cool film institute there. So even though I have my science degree and I'm doing medicine right now, I was interested in film and I got to travel to Sri Lanka because I wanted to learn more about that. And Kenya, I went to Kenya as well for a J-term, another J-term trip and it was an ecology class, so it was more science related, obviously. We got to study more about the different animal and plant species in Kenya, and it was very, very cool. And in the UK, I went to the UK for a summer research program that I will tell you more about in just a bit. So yeah, we're talking about research experience. So as I mentioned, in the summer of my second year at NYUAD, I applied to a summer research program at the University of Kent in the UK. And NYUAD funded my trip to go there for a few months over the summer and work with a lab on a research project. And so the project was about the regulation of the function of one of the proteins in the cellular nucleus. So this encompasses it. And then moving on, on starting my third year and my fourth year of university at NYUAD, I did undertake my capstone project, which is a project, it's like a graduation thesis that different people at NYUAD have to do. And it was related to malaria research. So I was really interested in understanding differences in the susceptibility to malaria infection, and how does the human host or the human immune response to malaria differ between different people from different ethnic groups. So I worked on that as well at NYUAD. Another project that I worked on, so basically was also in the same lab that I did my capstone in. It's called the Adagdur Lab, and I also got a chance to work on, basically apply what I learned with the malaria project onto COVID-19. So this is a picture of me all dressed up in PPE, looking a bit scary. But yeah, I got to work with blood samples from COVID-19 patients and learn how to process them, also study different functions within that. So I worked on that. And I also worked on another project that is also COVID-19 related, but it was more on the computational side. So I was looking at how can we predict complications that COVID-19 patients suffer when they enter the hospital. So how can we predict if someone's clinical situation is going to worsen in a hospital just from the first few hours of them entering that hospital? So that was a computational project. And finally, this is the project that I'm still currently working on. It's a project that studies immune response to TB, so tuberculosis. And what we're trying to basically do is we are trying to predict if a vaccine is going to be effective against TB or not by studying immune correlates, or basically immune markers that the body produces. And this is what I'm doing at Harvard Medical School currently. So all of these different research experiences, I would say, helped me learn a lot of skills. And I'm super grateful to NYUAD for allowing me to undergo these different experiences. And as a result of all of these experiences, I managed to publish a few articles in very good scientific journals. So we just have some over here. This was from my summer research experience in the UK. This is the preprint of the COVID-19 project that I worked on, that I mentioned earlier. And this is still a work in progress. It's a manuscript in preparation of my capstone in malaria. And this is a picture of me in my first poster presentation at NYUAD. It was actually the CGSB conference where I presented this. Moving on, so although it might seem like NYUAD, or from my experience at least, it's very academically rigorous, it is, but it's not just studying all the time. There's a lot of different fun activities that you could do, different student interest groups that you can be involved in. And in my case, I was involved in Students for Justice in Palestine. So it's called SJP. It's a student interest group. And basically, we would host different cultural events and activities around campus. We would, just engage with the community, introduce people to knafe, or to like مسخن, have dabke nights, or in this case, this is me reciting poetry for Mahmoud Darwish, for example. And this is a picture of the team after we worked on an art installation of the map of Palestine, and we marked the cities that were destroyed throughout the history. So yeah, these are just some examples of the things that I was involved in. I also had a student assistantship on campus, which is basically a part-time, I would say a part-time job. And it was for content creation at the CGSB, so the Center of Genomics and Systems Biology. And for example, this is one of the talks that I hosted. It was called What is Life? And it was basically a presentation by Dr. Shadi Amin about his research. And I would basically help with a program called Fikret Science Club. And basically it was just a platform or event that used to engage the public with science at NYUAD. So that was very fun. And finally, I would say some of my other works involved science communications. So as it was mentioned earlier, I'm really into combining sciences and arts together to make them more interesting. So I used to try as much as I can to communicate science creatively to the public, to make it seem less intimidating than it really actually is. So this is a picture of me when I decided to have an art show at NYUAD, and basically I wrote the different bases of the DNA on my face, and people would come and ask me. They thought that I probably looked weird, and they really wanted to understand, like, what does this girl have on her face? And that sparked a conversation around DNA, genomic bases. What do they mean? Why are they important? Why do we care about them? Why do we study them? And so on. I also created 2 films. So the first one, I called it MZT Film, and it was basically a short film I created for class about really trying to be critical about what we see, or how science is presented in the media, or how science is presented in films and movies. So that was just my take at it. And finally, I also, along with other colleagues of mine, students, in one of our science classes, we also created a model organism science sketch. So basically a short video about different model organisms, like the Drosophila or the mice, and so on. So that was very enjoyable. And in conclusion, this is my last slide. As I mentioned, I'm currently at the University of Cambridge doing my master's. And I don't think I would have reached this point if I was reserved, or let me say, if I didn't take as many chances as I did. So the point here is that really don't be scared of trying out different things. You really don't need to know what you want to do with your future right now. And I still don't know completely what I want to do with my future. But, just following your passion, just trying to learn more, even if you don't have a passion, or even if you don't know what your passion is, just be curious and ask questions and try to learn as much as you can from the people that you meet, and eventually things would work out. So that's what I have to say. And if you have any questions, please feel free to either email me or DM me on Instagram, whatever you feel is better. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Bana. I really liked the way how you integrated the arts with the science thing, and this is somehow also followed here at ICS. We always try to integrate more than one subject, and our students, they tend to work on term projects that integrate sciences with math and art and English. So I really like the idea of writing on your face those codes. Thank you. We have one question, and it's really nice question. Why did you choose New York University?
Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning, different reasons. So first of all, I applied to different universities all over the world, but I really didn't want to be too far away from home. So Abu Dhabi was like a reasonable distance from Jordan. So I was like, okay, that's a plus. But the main reason why I chose NYUAD was because I kind of generally knew my interests, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't want to commit to medicine, and I didn't want to commit to anything because I felt like I was 18 and I wasn't very sure of what I wanted to do. But I knew my general interests. And at NYUAD, you have the flexibility to be that. You can easily come. A lot of freshmen, incoming freshmen who attend NYUAD don't know their majors. So you can apply as an undecided major, and you don't have to apply to a specific program. You apply to the university and you tell them, okay, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in this, but I'm really open to try out different things. And because of the liberal arts program, you can do that. So I was in my freshman year, I took science classes, I took art classes, I took math classes, I took film classes, I took so many different things. I took music classes, economics classes, everything. And I was able to do that at NYUAD. So I really applied here because I wanted to go to a place that had the flexibility to allow me to grow while figuring out what I wanted to do with my future, rather than being like strict and being like, no, you have to apply to one program, and if you change your mind, you cannot switch, or you're basically stuck with it. So this is why I applied to NYUAD, and I'm very happy about my decision. Now that I finished NYUAD, I graduated, and I'm at a very good university in the UK. I still am very, very grateful to NYUAD. Like, there's no place like it ever.